Hi students, welcome to Sunil's tutorial. I'm Sunil Milwani and today we'll be doing the chapter called as Control and Coordination. Now last lecture we were doing about the snaps. We had seen the active phase and we had seen how an impulse is generated. Let's see the recovery phase of the snaps. Now we've seen that we have permeability of the membrane, neurulma, owing to which you have sodium ion concentration, excess sodium ion concentration on the outside, and you have excess potassium ion concentration in the inside, owing to which that was your resting phase. Now during the active phase we saw that as soon as the stimuli is given, the permeability changes, owing to which sodium ions move in, potassium ions move out, as a result of which a current sink is formed inside, right? We had seen this about the resting phase and the active phase. Now let us see the recovery phase. Now the recovery phase, it occurs after 0.5 milliseconds, right? Now, in the recovery phase, again the permeability reverses. The membrane permeability reverses at the current sink region. The membrane permeability reverses at the current sink region due to the sodium pump. Right? Now, as a result of this, what will happen that the potassium ions from the intestinal fluid, the same thing that occurred when you had the active phase. Permeability would reverse there, sodium went inside and potassium came out. Now exactly the opposite will happen. After 0.5 milliseconds, at the region of the current sink, again the permeability of the membrane will change, owing to which sodium will come out and potassium will go in. That's that simple as that, right? Potassium ions from the intestinal fluid move into the membrane and sodium ions diffuse out of the membrane out of the membrane right. Now as a result of this, once sodium ions diffuse out of the membrane, what will happen is that the sodium ion concentration becomes higher outside than inside. If sodium ions are going to diffuse out, you will have sodium ion concentration becomes higher inside on the outside then inside, right? Now if I want the permeability to change, I need to have some energy. The process will require some energy. Now this process needs some energy. It also needs some time gap between the first stimulus and the second stimulus for restoring the resting potential. Okay, this process needs some energy. Right? Moreover, some time gap is required some time gap is required between the first stimulus and the second stimulus. Between the first the restoration of the resting potential. For the restoration of the resting potential, and this is about this time required for the entire thing between the two stimulus is 1/1000 of a second in mammals. Right? This time gap is called as refractory period. Right? So that's my recovery phase of the snaps. Fine. So do you understand snaps? Next, let's see some more glands now. Let's see parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland. Now, where is it located? It is located on the back side of the thyroid gland. Right? Parathyroid gland location. The parathyroid gland, it is located on the back side of the thyroid gland and are two pairs of parathyroid gland, one present on each lobe. On the back side of thyroid gland. That's where they are located, right? Now, there are two pairs of parathyroid gland, one on each lobe. There are two pairs of parathyroid gland. There are two pairs of parathyroid glands present, one on each lobe. Now, why do I need the parathyroid gland? I need the parathyroid gland because they secrete peptide hormone, which is also called as the parathyroid hormone. Secretion. They secrete peptide hormone. They secrete peptide hormone known as the parathyroid hormone. Known as parathyroid hormone. Right? Referred to as PTH. Right? Why do I need this hormone? The level of calcium in the blood is regulated by the secretion of the PTH. PTH regulates the level of calcium ions in the blood. Right? This hormone increases the calcium level in the blood when this hormone increases the calcium level in the blood, then it is called as hypercalcemia, right? Thus calcium balance is maintained with the help of this particular hormone, right? Say that PTH increases the level calcium in the increases the level of calcium in the blood, right? Therefore I can say that PTH is a hypercalcemia hormone, is a hypercalcemia hormone. If it is going to increase the level of calcium in the blood, then how will the level of calcium how will the level of calcium be maintained in the blood? With the help of this, and you would have thyrocalcitonin hormone. You have another hormone that would maintain this, right? Which is produced by the thyroid gland, right? So I can say thus the level of calcium balance is maintained by TCT and PTH, right? TCT is your thyrocalcitonin hormone, and PTH, as I already told you, is the parathyroid hormone. Fine, do we get this in here? So that was about the parathyroid hormone. Next, let's understand about the thymus.
So this is the gland.
Yes, right. Where is it located? It is located on the dorsal side of the heart and the aorta. Location on the dorsal side of the heart and aorta. That's where the thymus gland is located, right? What is it made up of? It is made up of lobules. It is formed of lobules. That is what it is made up of. Now, why do I need the thymus gland? The thymus gland plays an important role in the development of the immune system. Right, that's the function of the thymus gland. It plays an important role. It plays an important role. It plays an important role in the development system. Right, that's where I need the thymus gland. The peptide hormones are known as the thymosin and are secreted by the thymus, which plays an important role in the differentiation of the lymphocytes. The thymus gland is the one that will differentiate between the different types of lymphocytes, especially the T lymphocytes. Right? When I do the immune system, I'll explain this to you that your lymphocytes have to be differentiated. Now that differentiation is done with the help of the thymus gland. Right? So that's how it plays an important role. The peptide hormone, it's a peptide hormone. The peptide hormone is also known as thymosins. The thymus, the hormone that it develops is a peptide hormone, and the name of that hormone is thymosin. Peptide hormone known as thymosins are secreted by thymus and play an important role in the differentiation of T lymphocytes. And play role in differentiation of lymphocytes. Right? Now, besides playing an important role in the differentiation of lymphocytes, these cells also produce cell-mediated immunity. That's another kind of immunity. We'll learn about all of this in the immunity chapter. I can say that these cells produce cell-mediated immunity. Right? So your T lymphocytes, which produce cell-mediated immunity, are secreted, are differentiated with the help of the thymosin hormone. Fine, do we get this thing here? The thymosin hormone also promotes the production of antibodies. Right? I can say that thymosin hormone also promote production of antibodies. Since they promote the production of antibodies, they provide another kind of immunity which is called as humoral immunity. What would happen if the thymus gland would degenerate? You would have degeneration of thymus gland occurring in old individuals. Now, if the thymus gland degenerates, automatically there would be a decreased production of thymosin, as a result of which your immune response would be weakened. You would fall sick very easily, right? Since your immune response would be weakened. I can say that the degeneration of thymus gland occurs in old individuals leading to decreased production of thymosin, thereby weakening the immune response. Right? So that was about the thymus hormone. Right? The next we will see is the adrenal glands. Now, where are they located? They are located on the upper border of the kidneys. Right? Location. Where are they located? They are located, a pair of adrenal or supraadrenal glands are located on the upper border of the kidney. They are located on the upper border of kidney. Fine. The glands shows two distinct regions. If you look at the glands, you would have this show you how they are. You would have, so this is your kidney. Right, so you would have the adrenal gland that would be located somewhere here. Right, this would be your adrenal gland. And this is your kidney. Right, now if I were to see the adrenal gland, it is made up of two regions. It is made up of two regions. The outer region is called as the adrenal cortex, and the inner region is called as the adrenal medulla. Fine. So the adrenal gland, I've shown you the location and what is it made up of. I can say that the gland shows two distinct regions, the thick outer cortex and the inner medulla. Right? The adrenal gland are highly vascularized. Right? Let's write this one down first. The gland shows two distinct regions. The thick outer cortex and the thin inner medulla. Fine. So you have the outer cortex and you have the inner medulla. Now, the adrenal cortex adrenals are highly vascularized glandular structure. Are highly vascularized glandular structure. Now, the adrenal gland consists of three distinct regions. The adrenal gland consists of three distinct regions, which are the first is the outer zona, the first region is the outer zona glomer ocula. Then you have the second one is the middle zona fasciculate, the middle zona fasciculate, and the inner zona reticulus. Reticulus. this. Right? Now, what does the adrenal cortex secrete? It secretes many hormones collectively called as the corticosteroids, right? Controlling vital body functions. I can say that the adrenal cortex secretes many hormones collectively called as corticosteroids, controlling several vital body functions. Fine. Now, let's see which are the hormones secreted and what do they control. The first is the mineralocorticoids. That's the first hormone that is secreted. It regulates the electrolyte and water balance. Regulates the electrolyte and water balance. Right? Then you have the aldosterone is the main mineralocorticoids. Right? So that's the first one. Now, the aldosterone, it acts mainly on the renal tubule and it stimulates renal reabsorption of sodium, water, and also the excretion of potassium and phosphate ions. I can say that it acts mainly on at the renal tubule remember the reabsorption of water, right, in excretion. So it acts mainly at the renal tubule and stimulates the reabsorption of sodium, water, and also the excretion of potassium and phosphate ions. Fine. Thus, I can say that the aldosterone helps in maintaining the electrolyte, body fluids volume, and the osmotic pressure. Right? I can say therefore the aldosterone helps in maintaining maintenance of electrolytes, body fluids, body fluid volume, and osmotic pressure and blood pressure. So those are the things that are maintained with the help of aldosterone. Fine, do we get this in here? Small amounts of besides aldosterone, amounts of androgenic steroids. Small amounts of androgenic steroids are also secreted by the adrenal cortex, which have a role in the growth of apical hair, facial hair. So that is also controlled with the help of these steroids which are generated by them. So small amount of androgenic steroids are also secreted by adrenal cortex, which play or which have a role in the growth of axil hair and facial hair. Fine. Then you have the glucocorticoids, which are involved in carbohydrate metabolism, right? Which stimulate the splitting up of carbohydrates, right? So you have aldosterone, then you have this androgenic steroids. The third is the glucocorticoids. The glucocorticoids are involved in the carbohydrate metabolism. Carbohydrate metabolism, right? Cortisol, the main glucocorticoids. Cortisol, which is the main glucocorticoids, stimulates gluconeogenesis, lipophysis, sorry. And proteolysis. So that is what is the hormone that is generated by the cortisol. The cortisol is the one which stimulates gluconeogenesis, lipolysis and proteolysis, right? It inhibits cellular intake and utilization of amino acids. It inhibits cellular uptake. It inhibits cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids. Fine. Then besides this, the adrenal cortex is also involved in anti-inflammatory reactions to suppress the immune response. It is also involved in anti-inflammatory reactions. You get hurt, you would have that part that would become red and there would be swelling, right? Now to what extent you don't want large amount of blood flowing in there, so your anti-inflammatory reactions are controlled by them. It is also involved in anti-inflammatory reactions and suppresses the immune response. Right? It also stimulates the RBC production. Cortisol also stimulates RBC production. Right? Now, besides this, I can say that the adrenal medulla also secretes two hormones. Medulla also secretes two hormones. The two hormones are known as adrenaline and noradrenaline. Adrenaline is also known as epinephrine, and noradrenaline is also known as norepinephrine. Right? So these are the other two hormones which are secreted by them. Now, these hormones are rapidly secreted under stress condition and are called as emergency hormones. Right? The adrenaline or the noradrenaline increase alertness, papillary dilation, hair erection and sweating. So these are the responses that are done by this. I can say that these hormones are rapidly secreted in stress conditions and are called the emergency hormones. You may call them as the emergency hormones or hormones of fight, or you may also call them as hormones of flight. Fine, do we get this thing clear? They increase the alertness papillary dilation erection. That's your erection is your hair erection, and sweating. That is the response of these hormones. These hormones are generally active under stress conditions, right? These hormones also increase the heartbeat, strength of the heart, contraction, and the rate of respiration. These hormones also stimulate the breakdown of glycogen, lipids, proteins, thereby increasing the blood glucose level, right? So, thereby, during conditions of emergency or stress, it makes sure that you don't give into stress and your body remains normal. You will require extra glucose, high amount of alertness, extra oxygen. All that is done with the help of, so that you have a proper response to the stress condition. Fine. So I can say that they increase the heartbeat. They increase the heartbeat, strength of heart, they increase the heartbeat, strength of heart, contraction and rate of respiration. Right? These hormones also stimulate. They also stimulate breakdown of glycogen, lipids, and proteins, thereby increasing blood glucose level. Increasing blood glucose level. So we've seen 3 hormones so far. Initially we saw this aldosterone, then we saw adrenogenic steroids, then we saw cortisol, and then these 2 hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline. Now, what would happen if you have hypersecretion of these hormones, right? Hypersecretion of corticosteroids causes a disease which is called as Addison's disease. Hypersecretion of corticosteroids causes Addison's disease. Now, what is Addison's disease? The symptoms of Addison's disease are weakness, weight loss, low body temperature, feeble heart action, low BP, excessive loss of sodium and chlorine in urine, and impaired kidney functioning and kidney failure. Right? So, hypersecretion of corticosteroid causes Addison's diseases. The symptoms of Addison's disease are, 1, weakness, you will have weakness, you will have weight loss, then you have low body temperature, then you would have feeble heart action, low BP, excessive loss of sodium and chlorine in urine, loss of sodium and chlorine in urine, impaired kidney function and kidney failure. Right? So these are your symptoms of Addison's disease. Now, you could also have hypersecretion of corticoids. Hypersecretion of corticoids causes another disease, causes Cushing disease. That was corticosteroids. Here this is corticoids, right? Hypersecretion of corticoids causes Cushing disease. The symptoms of Cushing disease are that you would have enhancement of total quality of electrolyte and extracellular fluid. That would cause increased BP and muscle paralysis, right? Symptoms are symptoms of Cushing disease. The symptoms of Cushing disease are alkalosis. So the first is you would have excessive amount of alkalosis. Then you would have
So what is this alkalosis?
you would have excessive alkanes, that is your excessive electrolyte in your body, right? You would have enhancement of total quality of electrolyte, enhancement of total quality of electrolyte in extracellular or in extracellular fluid. Then you would have increased BP, increased blood pressure and muscle paralysis. Those would be your symptoms of Cushing disease, right? Okay, let's stop this here for the day. Thank you very much.